Good morning, everybody. What's happening? Go ahead, Craig.
Hi, how are you? Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Craig Pelagian. I'm the exec producer of Ultimate Fighter and partner with the Ultimate Fighter with Dana, Lorenzo, and Frank for the last 18 seasons. This is a really special day for us today for the Ultimate Fighter. The Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonnar fight was one of the most important fights in Ultimate Fighter history. And it's brought us into 18 seasons of great fighting on the Ultimate Fighter, and we're just pleased to be here. We'd like to thank Dana, Frank, and Lorenzo for honoring the two fighters, and it's a big deal for us here at the Ultimate Fighter. So thank you all for coming this morning, and we really appreciate you viewing and being here as fans. Thank you, Dana.
So, you guys have heard me say it a million times. You heard me the other day, I said it all the media, you know, a lot of people were bitching. How does Stephan Bonner get into the Hall of Fame? Blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you what, as far as this company goes for sure, but as far as this sport goes, this was the most important fight in the history of this company. At the time when this fight happened, okay, you know where we were back then. You know where we were and what was happening with the sport. We were $44 million in the hole into this business. And we had already done a deal on Fox. Remember, anybody who remembers, we did the fight on the Best Damn Sports Show, period. We pulled the highest ratings in the history of that show. And when I say the highest ratings, I mean by a long shot. We killed it. They still didn't do a deal with the UFC, right? So we went out, we shopped the Ultimate Fighter around to every network on earth. Nobody wanted the Ultimate Fighter, nobody. So last guys we talked to was Spike TV, they didn't want it either. We said, how about if we pay for it? They liked that idea a lot better. First season cost us $10 million. The minute that thing aired, it started pulling the highest numbers they'd ever had in the history of the network. By the time the Chris Lieben, Bobby Southworth, Josh Koscheck thing happened, we were at like 2.3 million viewers, which is crazy, crazy numbers. Crazy numbers for a network like Spike that had just started. And we still didn't have a deal. So we get down to the finale, Diego Sanchez and Kenny Florian fight. Diego annihilates him in a minute. And I'm like, this is so bad, man. This is not good. Then Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin come out. This fight was so small, it was at the Cox Pavilion. The Cox Pavilion in Las Vegas, right? During 6 minutes of that fight, 12 million people tuned in for 6 minutes of that fight. You know how crazy that is? You know what insane numbers those are? And if anybody, who was there that night? Was anybody actually in the arena? People were stomping their feet in the place. It sounded like a fucking train was going through that place. There has never been a more important fight in the history of the UFC. There has never been a more important fight except for like UFC 1 in the history of mixed martial arts. And it is our honor to induct Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner into the UFC Hall of Fame.
The success of The Ultimate Fighter Season 1 meant everything.
Getting in the UFC, it was kind of a dream.
This was my opportunity to get in with the UFC.
If this thing didn't work, the UFC was going to go away.
I didn't know what a crux moment this was.
I just knew that this show was going to be different. This show was going to be good.
America, they liked these guys. They got to know them, and then it all came down to this one moment.
I thought that the finale with Forrest and Stephan was going to be good. I didn't know it would be the great fight that it was. Two guys gave everything they had, and it changed the sport forever.
Big right hand by Forrest. Wow! It was just one of those fights where every time he landed something, I wanted to hit him right back. And every time I landed something, he wanted to hit me right back.
People were going crazy as these two just battled back and forth.
Toe-to-toe they go. These are two walls colliding with each other.
Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner let it all hang out.
The numbers just kept going like this. People are picking up the phones and calling their friends.
Dude, you gotta watch this.
I'm just honored to be here watching this. Oh, what a finish! What a finish! There's two winners in that fight, period.
For the winner,
We've
decided there is no loser in this fight, and we're going to offer Stephan Bonner a 6-figure contract with the UFC.
It was all riding on Forrest and Stephan, and to say that those two went in and delivered is the understatement of the century.
That's what made me. You know, that's why I'm here. You'll be inexorably linked to that fight and to each other.
I'm proud to have a big part in the explosion of MMA. I've been in there with some of the greatest fighters in the world.
I've spilled pints and pints of blood for you guys over the years. And you know what? It's thoroughly been my pleasure.
The man who helped to bring us to where we are today.
Forrest has defeated Shogun! And Forrest comes out swinging. Forrest Griffin, UFC light heavyweight champion of the world.
I've had just an extraordinary life. Get to be in the UFC and get to have my dream.
Those two started the explosion for mixed martial arts in the UFC.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner. It is my honor to induct you into the UFC Hall of Fame. Congratulations, boys. Why don't you say something?
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. In the grand scheme of things, fighting people in a cage for money is not that big of a deal. I know that. You know, it's not like a hero profession, even though sometimes it's treated as one. You know, it's not being a soldier on foreign soil or, you know, being a paramedic or a firefighter, but sometimes on special moments it feels like that. And it's the biggest thing I've ever been a part of, and I really appreciate all of you being a part of it with me. Thank you guys so much.
Wow. Yeah, I first saw the UFC my junior year of high school, 1994. And, you know, the minute I saw it, it just hit me that this is the coolest thing ever, ever. Finally, all those questions. I used to have arguments with my friends. Who would win in a fight, Reggie White or Mike Tyson? Well, Reggie White would just maul him like a bear and take him down, and, well, Tyson would knock him on. And finally, all those questions got to be answered. And I remember going to wrestling practice after I saw the VHS tape of UFC 2 and trying to armbar people and getting yelled at by the coach. And my one friend had a cheater box, Boilex, so we'd go in his dad's basements and, you know, watch the UFCs, and it was the thing I look forward to the most. And then fast forward a couple years, it's 1997. I'm in college at Purdue, and Randy Couture is fighting Vitor Belfort. And to me, that was the moment when the sport really evolved. Like, finally, like, world-class athletes are doing this sport. World-class wrestlers like Randy Couture and Vitor Belfort, this guy who knew all the crazy submissions that Royce Gracie did. But he's strong and powerful and knocks people out with his hands. And I remember having a party at Purdue for that pay-per-view. And Randy upset Vitor. I was just in awe. And I was looking forward to getting out of college. Because over the summers, I started training at the Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu School. And after college, you know, I kept training jiu-jitsu and really never thought ever that I'd be a part of the UFC. And fast forward a couple more years, I had some matches and got lucky enough to get chosen for the Ultimate Fighter reality show. And you know, I know these guys here had their doubts about the show and the UFC at the time, but something inside me, I knew that the show would be a hit, and I just knew that the fight with Forrest would be a great one. I know my whole life, I had never been the best athlete. I was always average in everything. I had two older brothers who beat my ass a lot, and they were better than me at everything. So a big part of me was wanting to become a big bad ninja so I could kick their ass. And that motivated me a lot. And that was the beauty of MMA. You didn't have to be great at everything. You could be pretty good at everything and be a good MMA fighter. So if I had decent wrestling and decent jiu-jitsu and decent boxing and a lot of heart, then hey, I could pull this MMA thing off. So got chosen for the Ultimate Fighter reality show. That was 2004. And pretty much ever since then, my life has really been all UFC. I mean, not just fighting, just everything I've done outside of fighting. All the TV work I've had an opportunity to do with Spike TV and the pre and post shows with Fox and ESPN and calling the WEC fights. Really, I couldn't tell you who was run for president, but I could tell you about every guy who was fighting on the undercard. So this last year has been really tough for me. It's kind of been, it's been retirement. It's been putting the sport behind me, been trying to unveil my new chapter of the life. And as I sat down and peeled all these versions of myself away, the one thing that I had in common with the businessman Stephan Bonner I was making UFC merchandise and event T-shirts and the Punch Buddies line of clothing. And the TV personality Stephan Bonner was all UFC pre and post shows and calling the fights and the aftermath show for the Ultimate Fighter. And just every version of Stephan Bonner was UFC. So I just want to thank these guys for letting me be a part of this organization because really ever since I saw the UFC for the first time, I fell in love with it. And I thought it was the coolest thing on earth. So since 2004, really, my life's been all UFC, and I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to be a part of it, and not just fighting in the cage, but in all aspects of the organization. I'm nothing more than a fan like you guys. I love the sport more than anything, and love the UFC more than anything. And it's been really hard, letting that part of me go and moving on and finding the next chapter in my life. So, man, just got a couple people to thank. Really, in Muay Thai, they're always big about thanking your teachers. So, growing up, man, I wanted to thank my brothers for, kicking my ass and making me tough. My parents, my mom always driving me to Taekwondo. My dad, I was always trying to prove my worthiness to him. My Taekwondo teacher, Dexter Grove, my high school wrestling coach, Kent Lewis, Carlson Gracie, God bless his soul. My first boxing coach, Joe Kane. Duke Rufus, Mark Delagrade, last couple of years, Sergio Pena, Nick Blomgren, my wife Andrea, my best friend Tom Scully, and my 8-month son Griffin Bonner right there in the front row. And finally, if there's anyone in the UFC I could have picked out to lose that fight to, it would have been Forrest Griffin. As painful as it was to lose that fight, I was so happy for him because he's a great guy. And love you, man.
Thank you.
So, just want to end with a quote. This one from Calvin Coolidge. And I just found it last night, but I'm like, wow, this is perfect. This really describes me. He said something that goes like this. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full with educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. That means all powerful. I had to look that up. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and will always solve the problems of the human race. So thank you, UFC, Dana, Lorenzo, Frank Fertitta, for standing by me. And I'll be forever loyal to this organization. Thank you, fans, all the support, just the opportunity to entertain you guys. And look out for my charity, Garrett's Fight. G Money's here. He's a fighter with Down syndrome I'm supporting. And the movie Jacked coming out soon. Supposed to have a role in that, so watch me get my ass kicked in the movie. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.